Let's start the Racing Rewind. After it's all done and dusted, the Correct Weight Racing Review. Here's Warren Huntley, Dean Lester and Brendan Delaney.
Big hour coming up between 9 and 10 o'clock. Gareth Hall live at Oaklands for the Nutrient Equine Classic Standard Bred sales at 10 o'clock. So stay tuned for Gareth out there on course at Oaklands Junction following this review hour, but plenty of ground to cover here. Day one of the championships at Randwick, a big race day at Caulfield. We had the Grand National at Aintree overnight, the WA Derby, and probably even a bit more to talk about, but that'll be the guts of it as I welcome in both Dean Lester and Brendan Delaney. Good morning to you, Dino.
Yeah, I think that'll be enough to talk about, Warren. There was plenty to watch right through even the night. Set the alarm for 2:15, watch the National, so it's been a busy 24 hours.
And some terrific competitive racing at Randwick that we'll get to shortly, but the 4 Group 1's just a terrific day's racing there.
Tremendous, really, and given the weather conditions through the week, I thought the track was really good. We saw good Victorian participation, as you mentioned, with Explosive Jack earlier, and Nature Strip, with a strong interest down here. So it was a wonderful day of racing, and then of course Jamie Carr stealing the show.
Yeah, with Cascadian, Brendan, it was almost a fairy tale and a script that I suppose a promoter couldn't have written to have Jamie getting Cascadian over the line and the Doncaster. How did you see yesterday overall?
Tremendous day's racing. She might have stolen the show, Warren, but she only stole it for a few fleeting hours until Rachel Blackmore was able to win the Grand National last night, a race steeped in history, and Rachel becoming the first female to win it after being the leading rider at Cheltenham. So Jamie might have had the limelight for a little bit, but I'm sure in the bigger scheme of things on a worldwide scale, Rachel was able to come to the fore and trump her in the early hours of this morning.
Jamie Carr's been the darling of Melbourne racing, particularly this season, and probably the darling of Australian racing, one of a few for a couple of seasons now. She stole the show in the Doncaster yesterday.
As the big field turns for home down, Almeida in front from Forbidden Love. They beat off Yao Dash. Then came Samadowd. The inside is Ice Bar from Delasan, who's picking up down to the 250. Forbidden Love in front. Here it comes Mugger 2 now. He's giving chase with Cascadian the outside and Ice Bath up the inside. Cascadian wide out. Delasan through the centre. Ice Bath along the rails. It's Ice Bath and Cascadian. Ice Bath, Cascadian. I think Jamie Carr's won it. Cascadian the outside of Ice Bath, and the great finish to the Doncaster. Delasan's run third. Mugger 2 got his chance from Zaki running on well.
And that was a good call from Darren Flindell, and he was right. Jamie Carr had won it. Dino, how did you see the race unfolding?
Yeah, well, I think it probably the way the race unfolded was pretty much the script, and when Mugger 2 came out of the pack, I thought, well, he's probably going to be the winner. And then we had Ice Bath, who I know you were very keen on, ducking up the inside. Delasan, who'd been running pretty well at weight for age, getting through, but then ultimately Cascadian, who just we haven't seen him do a lot of that of winning. It was a year and a week since he won the Doncaster Prelude, but he was able to get that baldy face out and win right on the line.
One of the things we've talked about quite a bit here with Jamie Carr's, particularly say a horse like Starcaster and even Prophet's Thumb, just being able to get them into a rhythm, but a little bit more forward than they had been traditionally. Had the barrier yesterday, but was there any element of that in the way the race shaped up for Cascadian, Dean?
No doubt that he was probably 2 pairs closer than he's been most of his career. The draw, as you said, helped, and he certainly had Mugger 2 directly to his outside. So there was a good barometer, if you like, of where you wanted to be in the run. But Jamie sort of taking advantage of that and ultimately getting the prize.
Thoughts on the Doncaster, Brendan?
She got a timing spot on with him, didn't she, with Cascadian? He's a horse that can loom every now and then and not really go on and win the race, but she got her timing spot on that right on the line she was getting to the lead and taking over, so he still had something to chase for a long, long way. Tremendous run from Ice Bath back to the inside. David Bashir, who we've seen on racing.com for a little bit a couple of springs ago. He's been narrowly beaten twice in big races now, and this was another one here with Ice Bath, went awfully close to winning. I thought Delasan did a tremendous job. He was unlucky in the George Ryder last time out, and he probably just doesn't have the zip that the two horses in front of him had at the back end of the 1600, but he did a tremendous job. Mugger 2 loomed as if he was the winner. Avilius, what you're going to get with him. But all honesty, Cascadian and Jamie got the timing spot on with him.
The whip rule rearing its head again. Jason Holder, who rode Delasan, fined $5,000 for using the whip 11 occasions prior to the 100-metre mark, finishing third on Delasan. Stewards couldn't identify that gave Delasan any type of advantage, so just a monetary fine for Jason, and Dean Yendall incurring a suspension in that race, Dino, on Forbidden Love, just causing some interference to Mugatoo. But I think in general we'd say Mugatoo effectively had his chance, Dean.
I think he did, yeah. He ran well, and he can back up next week at 2,000 metres, and maybe that's what he's looking for a little bit now as well. He ran very well. There was one that ran very well there. Zaki, first start in Australia for Annabelle Neesham, only had the 2 trials leading in, so it was a bold plan to run him in the Doncaster first up, and weren't that far off the mark, only beaten about 3.5 lengths, and effectively his form in Europe suggests he's a miler, so that was the right sort of trip for him, but he ran very well.
A week's suspension also to go with that fine for Jason Holder for his ride aboard Delasan. Cascadian, the star of the show there, James Cummings, what a day out he had with Animo, we'll get to shortly, and Paul Ely kicking off the program with a win. We're all anticipating the reclash of Nature Strip and Eduardo in the TJ Smith.
Into the straight now, and Eduardo is the leader from Nature Strip, and they're broken clear from the rest, but Nature Strip moved up, put paid to Eduardo at this point, and Nature Strip draws a length and a half, 2 lengths clear from Eduardo, a gap back to Masked Crusader, but Nature Strip goes back to back in the TJ, and this is an annihilation. Masked Crusader got up to run second in front of Eduardo, Zatori fourth.
Well, talking up to Rod Lyons earlier today, Brendan, and hopefully a bit of a lift for some of the things that his family's going through at the moment. But what a performance of Nature Strip. When he's in that beast bully mode, he's hard to stop.
Certainly is, and a big thing that we talk about with this horse is him being able to find his rhythm, and he just seemed to find that yesterday in the early part of the race. They didn't go helter-skelter, so he wasn't out of his comfort zone sort of chasing Eduardo early. We know he's capable of running some really strong splits, but he didn't have to yesterday, and he was just able to really get himself into a nice rhythm with something to chase in front, and you knew at the top of the straight Eduardo was going to really have to pull something special out to hold him off, because as you mentioned, he was in that beast mode. He was in that frame of mind where he'd had a nice rhythm throughout, and he was called up and ready to go. Masked Crusaders run second, but realistically he was never really going to be a winning chance from the 500 or 600 metre mark, where you knew it was either going to be Eduardo or Nature Strip. Zutori's done a good job at Eduardo battle, but that's not the best of him, and Bivouac had his chance up in behind them, so they can't blame Bossy for that one. He was there with his chance just off the speed, but he's the best sprinter. Probably James McDonald was happy to label him the world's best sprinter. He's right up there, and he got it all right yesterday, which is important for him to find that rhythm and get it right, and then that's what he can produce.
And off to a stud career for Bivouac, Dino, and no doubt he'll be well supported with some terrific Godolphin mares and Darley mares, but also plenty of others. But overall, Dean, how did you see this race shape up?
Yeah, there was a lot made of when Jamie Carr won on this horse in the Lightning Stakes. I think it's a lot to do with the background. I think Chris Waller gets it right with him, and on the days that the horse has got to be right at his peak, and they just can't quite peak him all the time. But when he's on, yesterday he was right on, and James McDonald got him into that rhythm, and it was just smart riding early. He just got behind Eduardo, then came to his outside, so there was no pressure dictated to his outside. He was the one that was actually dictating when they started to ramp it up, and the overhead shot showed it. They went pretty, for this class of horse, they went pretty steady the first half, but just on straightening, they put a divide in the rest of the group very quickly, and it was evident that one of the two were probably going to win, and for Masked Crusader to get as close as he did was a tremendous effort. As Brendan said, he was never going to win, but he ran very, very well.
From the 300 metres, Masked Crusader, according to the Stewards report, had difficulty obtaining clear running. Approaching the 200, had to shift into the inside of Libertini. So I suppose when you're chasing some of the fastest horse in the countries, Dino, when the pressure's going on, you don't want to have to bide your time, so to speak.
No, exactly right. It's especially at the stage of the race where the pressure went on. So he's really established himself now at this level. Masked Crusader, different to a lot of these horses that went their way through the handicaps and then into Weight for Age. He's virtually in one preparation step straight to Weight for Age and showed that he's well up to it.
One from Stephen via the SMS. Thanks for your contribution, Stephen. He thought Zatori measured up pretty well in the TJ. Possibly a sneaky chance in the all-aged if they want to head that way, Dean.
Yeah, I think they're keen to lengthen him out. I mean, he's raced well at 14 and even 16 early in his career. So, yeah, he's up there and he's in form. You'd think, he's relatively fresh. Why not have a go at the 1400 of the all-aged?
Plenty more to unfold. Rod Lyons indicating he'll talk to Chris Waller during the week, but even a trip to Brisbane might be on the agenda for Nature Strip, and I think everything focused on having him absolutely at his top for another crack at the Everest, Dean.
I would think that's probably all the sprinters are aiming that sort of way, and that's the next really big target on their agenda.
Horse you were talking us into, Dino. I even heard people at Caulfield yesterday whispering that Dean Lester was giving this horse a chance. Explosive Jack went around in the Derby for Mara Eustace.
Sorry, mate, keep going.
Johnny Allen aboard Explosive Jack. I see Johnny's been taken off his rides at Ballarat today, Dino,
yes.
So he's probably earned a day off, and after a win aboard Explosive Jack yesterday, probably heading to the depths of Ballarat today, he'd be excused for having a day off today, Dean.
Oh, I think so. He did the one ride yesterday, and it's for connections that have been very good to him, and likewise he's returned with some great rides, and yesterday was just one of those.
Let's have a look. Listen to Johnny Allen getting a narrow photo aboard Explosive Jack.
It's the frontman being tackled by Quay. Montefilia has gone one pace coming down the outside as Lions Roar. Explosive Jack and Youngworther between them. Here's the go in the Derby. It's Lions Roar and Explosive Jack. Explosive Jack goes to Youngworther. I think Explosive Jack wanted a nose to Youngworther and a head away to Lions Roar. Then came Montefilia, followed by Quay. Further back to Rocket Speed.
Randwick, there was some excited scenes at Caulfield. I think there might have been some exciting scenes out Cranbourne way yesterday.
Yeah, a little bit, Warren. I was just, it was a terrific race. The way it changed at about the 300, I thought, gee, Quay's going to be hard to beat here. He'd had a beautiful run and travelled well, and probably ultimately just didn't quite stay because he got away from Montefilia, and ultimately she beat him home. But then the three real stayers down the centre of the track, Explosive Jack, Youngworther and Lions Roar, they put in their big runs, and they sprinted hard at the end of the 2400, and Explosive Jack was a good ride because there was a little bit of a shuffle up at the 800, and Favreau went around. He got a bit of a cart from Favreau. He could have probably gone with him, but he got a cart into the race and ultimately won him the race.
Brendan, your thoughts on the Derby?
Yeah, the first three across the line were all able to. It was a bit stop-start. He's coming towards the turn, and the first three across the line were able to sort of be out in clear air and continue to build the momentum into the race, which probably allowed them to have that strong finish on them. Montefilia had to play the percentages back to the rail and go up the fence. She got through, but just had to use her carrots too early and probably wasn't in the best part of the track. Interesting reading the riders' report. Craig Williams reported that Quay thought he had probably done enough by the time he had got Montefilia, and he travelled up like he was really meaning business there at the top of the straight. But as Dean said, maybe just didn't get the 2400 at this stage of his career, but you could see him developing into a horse that will so in time. Line Draw, terrific. Youngworther, really good. Explosive Jack just got the upper hand over them. He was probably unlucky at Bendigo last time out, just the way the race panned out for him to get shuffled out the back, and Johnny wasn't having those circumstances yesterday. He was out wide and really giving him plenty of air to build up.
Dino, just take us through your thought process. Yesterday you referenced this horse specifically in the Derby. What was it that attracted you to him?
I liked that he'd had plenty of racing over a bit of distance and had a long grounding, and I actually thought the ground might have been a bit wetter. That was probably the thought that it'd be a bit of a slog, and ultimately it probably helped him as well. And Youngworther, having had a run in the Derby in the spring, had the miles in the legs as well. And I just, at the end of a 2,400 metre race, it might have counted for something. And ultimately, the Mara Eustace stable got a nice group of 3-year-olds, and the fact that they went that way with that horse, I just thought that they'd probably cherry-pick the right one to run well in the race, and ultimately he did get the money.
What did you make of Montefilia with the prospect of backing up into the Oaks?
Oh, you'd think she'd run very well in the Oaks. I'd read that she didn't stay in the VRC Oaks. Well, I thought she was at the back end of her preparation, and yesterday she was beaten off, and then she got going again late, beaten 2.5 lengths. You'd still think that would be good enough to just about win the Oaks, and she did back up very well last spring off the flight into the Spring Champion. So I don't think the backup would cause her any great concern.
Must be a tough horse, Explosive Jack, Brendan. Is Dave Eustace outlining that there's still a couple of derbies to go, so his campaign mightn't be over yet?
He looks a big strong boy, doesn't he, when you see him letting go with that big loping stride down the outside. So there are only 3 once, and there's only one derby for them pretty much. To 1 year they can really attack the derbies, and if he's up and going, he can. It's a path that Darren Weir's sort of used before, target multiple derbies and horses back up and running well in them. So he's got the miles in the leg, as Dean has said. So while he's up and fit and going, you get 1 3-year-old season, so you may as well try and capitalise as best as you can.
Anamo's having a terrific 2-year-old season, and the market said he was going to appreciate getting out to 1,400 metres the size yesterday.
It's Tiger Malay being challenged by 4 moves ahead, Daily Bugle, and here he comes, Anamo. He let loose in a stride, and the colt charges to the lead of the 200. Halal's coming down the outside, and then came Captivon, but Anamo's well clear. Halal and Captivon fight out second and third, but a cosy victory in the English size for Anamo. McDonald eased him right down for a 3-length win from Halal. Ahead away Captivon, then Queen of Wizardry.
Well, on a day of highlights, Brendan, arguably one of the most, if not the most impressive win of the day at Randwick.
Yep, we mentioned beast mode for Nature Strip. That's what Animo was yesterday. When he shouldered his way out at the top of the straight, he had his sort of his main rivals in bedding or those that were travelling well right on his back, and he dropped them quickly. Highlal's run well, and Captivating was right there on the tail of Animo when they made the turn, and in the twinkling of an eye, I know they probably had to rebalance after they copped a little hip and shoulder, but once Animo really wound into his work, he put pay to those horses really quickly, and it wasn't until he was throttled down that they took ground off him. We'd seen him run well here in Melbourne, and he put the writing on the wall in the lead up to this through the slipper. But he's a really nice colt, and it was there for everyone to see yesterday. Highlal's done a good job, but in saying that, Animo gave him plenty to chase from the 300 when there was only a length between them.
You referenced that incident at the turn into the home straight, and Dean, I thought that James McDonald might have been in a little bit of trouble, but the stewards report indicates that Animo shifted out away from Chill when that runner laid out slightly, and that caused a bit of an incident between both Captivant and Halal coming together and becoming unbalanced. So the stewards deemed that James McDonald didn't have a case to answer there, and then Animo just saw that clear air and he was off and gone.
Yeah, I think the stewards, I think we've mentioned it before, Warren, they'd love the overhead shot every week because on the Channel 7 coverage you could see that there was just that little chain reaction going on, and yeah, he was magnificent, Animo. As Bruce McAvaney mentioned yesterday, since the championships were branded in 2014, only 2 horses have won at odds on, and one of them was Winks 4 times, and now Animo winning at odds on shows how competitive the racing is, and he was a dominant winner. The Hawks it was a bit of a deja vu with Halal, and then into Masked Crusader later. They were chasing, but they were chasing in vain, and Halal ran really well. But the margin is a little bit flattering because Animo eased down so much. But he's a very nice horse, Halal. I like the way he goes about things, and he'll be better over further. And Captivant ran honestly, and they had a big margin on the rest. 4 moves ahead. She really peaked on her run at about the 200, and she's probably had enough for now.
The field will probably distill down a bit if we head towards the Champagne in a couple of weeks. From what you saw yesterday, Dean, you wouldn't be putting any negative on Animo stretching out to 1,600?
No, he looks in great fettle. He was in great form yesterday. He's shown durability. He should run a mile, no problems. And, I would think you'd hope the first 2 would run and it would make for a good race, but Animo would certainly have to be the favourite.
Yeah, thoughts there, Brendan?
Yeah, you'd like to see Animo go to 1,600 metres, just another 200 metres on top of what they went yesterday, and then you've got to take into account how quickly Animo dropped them at the top of the straight. He's the one you want to be with. You
start thinking about awards such as 2-year-old of the year and horse of the year, Dean, and I suppose if Animo came out and won the Champagne with those 2 Group 1s, he'd show that he's one of our absolute best, and great performances in the Slipper and the Diamond. But it seems to me that performance of Stay Inside in the Slipper is probably the weighting that gets would be enough for Stay Inside to be 2-year-old of the season at this stage.
Yeah, he had 2 huge wins, the Slipper obviously and one of the lead-ups, so he's probably the front runner because it's the ultimate race. At Animo, obviously, you can make a case he was unlucky in the Slipper, but he's certainly an elite 2-year-old, and he'll finish first or second in the 2-year-old of the year honours.
4 Group 1s at Randwick, Dean. Anything else of particular note there that we need to discuss, particularly if we're looking ahead in the short term?
The Chairman's was run at such a brutal speed, considering the conditions, and that's why, as Ray Thomas mentioned, they came in at such big intervals. He mentioned Rondinella's hitting her peak. I thought her run was very good going forward, and if she can handle the back up into the Sydney Cup, she'd run well. Quick Thinker's a Derby winner and now a Chairman's winner, and they spaced the rest. They were getting very tired at the end of that race. So I think the first 2 there are the 2 going towards the Sydney Cup you'd take out of that, and the rest of the day, good competitive day. I think Art Cadeau's an absolute beauty. He's better than just a country championships winner. He's probably a borderline stakes horse going forward.
Brendan?
Yeah, quite happy to be with Realm of Flowers heading towards the Sydney Cup after that real cutbuster for them yesterday in the Chairman's, as Dino touched on. Probably the first 2 are the ones that could figure in Sydney Cup calculations off what we've seen so far. Like the winner Paloli in the first race on the program, Ollie putting him right up on the speed and really strong at the end.
Terrific days racing at Caulfield yesterday, also to coincide with the 4 Group 1's first day of the championships at Randwick. We'll take a short break, come back with the Caulfield meeting after this.
Hunnam by 3/4 of a length from He's Exceptional. We got him today, son. Then Lucky Decision. Favourites going back to last. Cheerful Legend to Borker around it. Into the straight. Hunnam looks to be going pretty well. At the 250, nursed along. 2 lengths, He's Exceptional. Cheerful Legend's getting out now, followed by Taborka. It's Hunnam at the 150, leading by a length and a quarter. He's Exceptional is trying hard, but Hunnam now, McNeil shows at the whip. It's home. Hunnam won it. Hunnam by about a length and 3/4. He's Exceptional. Cheerful Legend third from Taborka, and then
got some rain during the morning leading into the meeting, Dino, so we got a downgrade early in the meeting at Caulfield. What did you make of the performance of Hunnam controlling the first?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what he did, Warren, and you could tell that it was the first use of the track. It was quite loose, so there was no shock that there was a downgrade pretty much straight away. Hunnam led, he backed them off a little bit in the middle stages. He's Exceptional to his outside. Then when he quickened and they started to turn, he was off and gone, and Cheerful Legend just didn't handle it at all. He didn't race well in behind them. He actually got going, and to his credit, ran third. But, Hunnam controlled the speed, and probably a horse that will a little bit of a bonus winning at 1,200 because he's pretty relaxed about things. I think he'll be better when he gets over a bit further.
Stewards did quiz Mark Zara aboard Cheerful Legend, just potentially about allowing He's Exceptional to cross early in the race, and he said after having done so, the tempo of the race eased, and the colt then raced greenly when amongst other runners. The post-race veterinary examination of Cheerful Legend revealed him to be lame in the near hind, Brendan, so probably from a race shape and a veterinary inspection point of view, a forgive for Cheerful Legend.
Yeah, most definitely. When the first 2 horses in running were sort of accelerating off the turn and kicking away, he was sort of just marking time in behind them, waiting for his turn to try and wind up, and when it did come, it was too late. So Hunnam had that easy run in front. He's Exceptional was there on his outside, and when they pulled the trigger, he was left chasing and not all that comfortable on the bend neither. But having to accelerate around the bend wasn't helpful. So a forgive for Cheerful Legend. Winner was good, but he was entitled to win the race after the run that he had. He's Exceptional, solid alongside him. Taborka was okay late from the back, but all honours to the winner. And John McNeil just grabbed the race by the scruff of the neck early and dominated it.
First leg of a double for Jai McNeil. We get to the second. It was over 1,200 metres for the 3-year-olds and upwards. And Mark Zara was aboard Miss Old Mantra. This was the first leg of a treble.
Dollar for Dollar, Native Soldiers just pushing the issue. Two further back as Fabric. Then came Simply Optimistic, who'll just need a little bit of luck, and Missile Mantra's taking off from the back. Into the straight. 350 metres to run. Dollar for Dollar held together first to straighten. From Native Soldier, Fabric's about to make a line of 3. Missile Mantra makes a line of 4, and the favourite's gone. Missile Mantra at the 200 metres moves up and claims Fabric. Simply Optimistic runs on, but Missile Mantra is clear by 3/4 of a length Fabric, and Missile Mantra a grand return. Fabric second, Simply Optimistic third, Native Soldier, and Dollar for Dollar punctured up.
Thoughts here, Brendan?
Good win by Missile Mantra. We've seen her with that clear air before at Caulfield come charging when it's all over in bigger fields, when it's all too late. But slower tempo, she was able to be right in contention on the turn, and that was always going to help her run over the top of them. I'm not sure we're expecting Dollar for Dollar to stop as quick as he did. That's not in his nature to give in that quickly. He's generally a bit of a scrapper, and it wasn't good to see that from his behalf yesterday. Fabric did a good job, runs well fresh again. Simply Optimistic was left marking time when Dollar for Dollar and Native Soldier came back into his face coming towards the turn. He was having to wait and angle out, and he's run on well, and he's tracking nicely towards the Wangoo.
Stewards obviously spoke to Will Price, who was aboard Dollar for Dollar, and you could pick it up in Matty Hill's call. Even he was astonished the way Dollar for Dollar dropped out. Will Price could offer no explanation for the poor performance. Post-race veterinary examination failed to reveal any abnormality. The stewards took a sample for analysis. Kelvin McAvoy, he offered no explanation also, and he'll report back to the stable if anything comes to light in the coming days, because Dino, from an observer's perspective, it just looked too bad to be true for Dollar.
Yeah, that's right, Warren. I mean, yes, it's a long time between wins, but there's a lot of very good and brave runs in that time, and that was... It just wasn't in his nature to give up like that, so you'd think something went wrong. But on the flip side, Missile Mantra finished the last campaign in good form. She won a Reduced Choice as a 2-year-old, similar fashion at Caulfield, and when she was within a length coming to the turn, as Brendan said, she was going to probably win the race. You just didn't think the inside horses would probably stop as quickly. You'd be very happy with Fabric. It was a lovely return.
Yeah, Jai McNeil was very pleased. She ran well. She got the right run, and she had probably a pleasant day out. She can be fitter and move on from there, perhaps step up in distance. No match for Missile Mantra late, but she ran well. And Simply Optimistic, Dino, he's got a bit of a habit of wanting to lay in, but he... in the spot on the back of Dollar for Dollar, he was entitled to think, Daniel Moore, that the horse was going to take him a bit further than he did yesterday.
Yeah, well, it was fair enough to take the sit. I didn't know if they'd used because he likes the rail, whether they'd used the lightweight and kick up inside Dollar for Dollar early, but you would have thought it was a very cosy spot to be, but by about the 400 to go, you realise that he had to get out and get going. Native
Soldier, first up off a long break. Your thoughts there?
I would have thought that's about a pass. I thought he'd go a little bit better, but he was up outside the lead. He's had a day at the races, and I think he's a better horse on top of the ground too, so I think that shifting ground probably not in his absolute to advantage. So I'd be thinking that he got a pass for the day out, first run in over 2 years.
Missile Mantra back with a win fresh for the Snowden stable with Mark Zara in the saddle. Brett Preble took the ride for Ryan Belfer aboard Lil Contra in race 3.
350 metres to go at Sham I Am. Led a length Pravro, then Little Contra. Elberg stoked up the middle. Then Washu. Superium needs a run badly in the pink jacket. Little Contra at the 200 metres takes the lead from Pravro. Then Elberg and Wilmot pass. Little Contra, 100 metres to go in front of Pravro. And then a wall chases. Little Contra won it. Your Long Storm's driven through to get second from Superium, and it got tight late.
I think you've referenced before she'd been dining out on a good performance in the Coolmore as a 3-year-old for a while now, but in that grade yesterday, she seemed to be able to hold them all off. How did you see the race?
Yeah, she was good, Warren. I thought given a really good, smooth blending into the race ride by Brett Preble, and that allowed her to kick off and win the race. Yulong Storm much better yesterday, getting through the pack. Superium it set up quite well for him because the speed was drawn around him, but it was speed that wasn't going to take him anywhere, and at the 200 he just had to get through them and didn't get through them as neatly as you'd have hoped, and he ran very well. Elberg, that's about him. I thought when Wilmot Pass came out, at about the 250 he was really going to kick on and be right in the finish, but he just peaked on his run, whether he needed just a day at the races, and didn't mind the run of Wild Gem because he likes wet ground, so we're getting into that sort of season, and he was a long way back and actually closed off okay.
The benchmark 78 of the day, Brendan, so some evenly graded horses. How do you dissect the race?
Yeah, little Contra, she's hard to catch, isn't she? She's always there and thereabouts, but just with a nice ride there from Preble yesterday. She was sort of kicking away while others were still sort of building up through their gears or looking for clear air to go, so that probably aided her. And a good job. She's not overly big, so lumping the 58.5 is a little feather in her cap there. Yulong Storm was okay the last 50 at Bendigo, but really got through the line nicely at there yesterday. Superior just off the speed, and then when the runs did come, they came a little bit too late. Albert covered a stack of ground, but he was there again, and where does he go to win another race? Look, Pravero did a good job. He won well, fresh, and no luck at Moonee Valley. Excuse me, he's boxed on well there back on the inside, and as Dino touched on, Wilmot Pass was there, but he just didn't have that quick acceleration that we thought he might have in that last 200 metres or so. But a good enough run from him, looking for a second up assignment. But a nice ride from Preble. He got the timing right with her to put the brake on them early, but you think Yulong Storm's not too far off picking another one up.
Dino, one from Wayne from Oakley, just heading back a race, a regular contributor, Wayne, and loves his racing in general, in particular at Caulfield. He was impressed with the win of Missile Mantra yesterday, and I didn't speak to anyone from the stable on course yesterday, but just wondering if she might travel away from Melbourne, even head back to Sydney, or if there's something here. I suppose with mares now, and I know with Fabric that it's about trying to get some more black type, and perhaps even Adelaide for Missile Mantra, Dean?
Yeah, I think Brendan mentioned that in the post-race yesterday, that, maybe kept fresh and have a go at the Sangster, because she's Group 1 place, she's a stakes winner, so the only thing she can do to improve her resume is actually win a Group 1, so she's got to be given that opportunity. So whether it's, a bit of a travelling roadshow with the, Sangster, the Goodwood, and maybe the Tats Tiara later on in Brisbane, so, she's probably got a few options ahead of her, but maybe not in Victoria.
You'll have to keep your eye open, Wayne, but I'm sure you will. And if you're keen on her, and if you backed her yesterday, then you're well rewarded at a good price for a quality horse, and she should be able to progress on and even improve after that impressive win yesterday. We head to the fourth. Danny O'Brien had Will Price taking 2 kilos off Cordia.
Into the headwind, into the straight. 350 metres to go off the rails. Lesage just in front of Switched. Rainbeal, Cordilla a length and a half off those. Causeway Girl needs an out, then Garvock. Rainbeal at the 200 metres, the only filly in the race, with Cordilla the outside, and they go toe-to-toe. Cordilla wanted to lug in. Rainbeal's trying to fight back. Cordilla a neck, Rainbeal. Cordilla just, and Cordilla beat Rainbeal. And they race clear 5 lengths. Garvock third, followed by My Pendant Switched, then Causeway Girl. She's a thief. And
this stage of the day, Brendan, we were downgraded to that soft 5. We had a late scratching in this race of the Commoner with that downgrade. Came through pretty soon after the track was downgraded. Before you get to your thoughts on the race, how did you see the track evolving during the course of the day?
Fence probably wasn't the place to be. Dean and I discussed it throughout the day yesterday. Probably the run of Cordilla there is the run you wanted to have, just off the speed wide and really slinging into the race off the bend. And that worked out nicely for her. So 3-4 horses off the inside was probably sort of the ground you wanted to be in, particularly in the shorter races, and Cordilla was able to find that yesterday. You knew the speed was good through the early part of the race when She's a Thief was a length off the lead and couldn't be up there with them, and it was going to suit Cordilla to roll into the race. Rainbeal did a good job, covered ground, carted the winner into it and stuck on well, but Cordilla had the right circumstances to suit there yesterday. Garvock was one of those horses that was down closer towards the inside, and by the time Walker had got to the outside to launch her bid, the first 2 were well and truly off and gone, and My Peanut was really good there yesterday. Warren back off the speed and doing best work late.
Yeah, she was beaten some 5 and a bit lengths, so a small share in her, along with Fabric. And Matty Cartwright was pleased. He thought that she ended up really responding well late in the straight and closing off well. The downgrade of the track probably helped her. She doesn't mind a little bit of sting out of the ground, so she probably got nice conditions to just be ridden conservatively and then just work home late in the race, but at least an encouraging return from My Pendant. Dino, your thoughts here?
Yeah, I thought Cordilla just fitted for that day out. Moonee Valley in testing ground. Danny O'Brien waiting the month to probably get her to recover from that as much as anything, and a good option, but and well weighted with the claim, but hoping that Rainbill can win a city race soon. She's certainly deserving of it. She stakes performed and a very good run yesterday. Garvock, Brendan's outlined the case there, that spent a lot of time to get to the right part of the track, and I think My Pendant was a pretty good return, because I didn't think she, looking at her, Warren had trialled as sharply as Fabric going in, so I don't think she was as wound up, and yet she's run pretty well.
No, she'd had the one jump out, whereas Fabric had two, and Fabric was coming through some sharp jump outs where My Pendant just had a very quiet hit out. So effectively that race you would think would help bring her on. And your thoughts on the way the track was playing at this stage of the day, Dean?
Yeah, as Brendan outlined, I just think that, I think Lil Contra sort of set the bit of a blueprint for the day, and it was interesting that really took a chance in the last was Craig Newitt, saying that he stayed to the inside to cut the corner because it hadn't been used and then come out a bit. But, I think that, blending into the race in that spot was pretty much the spot you wanted to be most of the day.
Two horses fighting out favouritism in race 5, Anavisto and Mozzie Monster. Tactically, they'd be in different spots in the run.
Air Defence at the 400 metres in front of Nectar Anavisto, and they quicken a length and a half in front of Conceded 5-star Decanter Fatigues. Well back Cumberbatch, Mozzie Monster second last. It's Anavisto up to Air Defence at the 250. They straighten 3 lengths. Conceded 5-star Decanter. Mozzie Monster's got to the outside with a lot to do as Anavisto sprints below the 200 metres. 2 lengths, 3 lengths Air Defence, and then a group, but it's all Anavisto. The fillies coming away to win it well. Anavisto trotted up. Seconds close. Look, it might be Fatigues just in front of Mozzie Monster. Then Air Defence 5.
Mozzie Monster just grabbing second on the line there. Dean and Mark Zara and John McNeil, they dominated the meeting and they were aboard the favourites here. How did you see the race unfold?
Yeah, Anavisto, what she has developed is a good habit of beginning well and putting herself there. She can race a little bit ungenerously, like the way she travels, but I don't think it's detrimental to her. And whereas Mozzie Monster comes out that bit slow, gets dictated to, she had to wait for the race to sort of unfold, and that it didn't. And it doesn't matter about weights and measures and things. Anavisto will beat Mozzie Monster every time if those sort of scenarios happen. And she was good again. Anavisto, I thought. Fatigues, I think, was a beneficiary of the track downgrade because he does like soft ground and he ran quite well. I think he's not far off another win, and Air Defence, another one that's having a good preparation, battled on okay to run fourth, and another one that handles soft ground okay.
The stewards spoke to John McNeil, who rode Mozzie Monster, Brendan. It was slow to begin and then ended up steadied approaching the 500 metre mark when held up behind a leady, which was giving ground. The stewards asked John McNeil if he was able to shift out sooner than he did passing the 700 metre mark to place too far forward of Cumberbatch, which was racing to his outside. And Jai explained that he probably would have had to concede more ground. I think ideally would have liked to be in that spot, but he just felt that he would have had to almost come back a length and a half to then get to the outside, and the race would have passed him by anyway. So perhaps a forgive for Mozzie Monster, but we're getting some feedback via the SMS that you shouldn't be continuing to support Mozzie Monster. I think she's a talent, but obviously her racing style and the way the race shaped up yesterday, Brendan, certainly favoured Anavisto, and if that's the way you read the race, then good luck to you.
Yeah, her race was pretty much over after they had gone 250 metres. For the horse to her inside, a Liddy sort of jumped out a fraction. She was slow, and then Fatigues was that little bit slow as well. And Jai had no option but to go down to the inside through that early part of the race. It was the part of the track you probably didn't want to be when you wanted to be slinging into the race coming off the turn. And Jai's comments in the stewards report are spot on. He would have had to concede too much ground and too much momentum for him to come back to the outside. He had to play the percentages. Had Liddy not dropped the outer sharply, she did, maybe Jai might be able to get that run through the field, but it didn't happen. Came back on a forget day yesterday for Mozzie Monster. You'd like to see her go to Flemington and get some open space and open air and really let Boom down the outside, and she's probably going to need a confidence booster in the not-too-distant future. Anavisto was good, but it was advantage her by the time they had left the back straight, and it's not a long run across the back at Caulfield. Because she was up there outside the speed, she was going to have the clear air, and she was the best of those horses in that front half of the field. Fatigues did a good job, but as Dino outlined with the wetter conditions, was aided. Air Defence is going well enough, had to lump the 59 there yesterday. Didn't mind the run of 5-star Decanter, just battled a little bit late, but this was a pretty big step up in grade from what it had been competing in. But there was advantage and a Visto at the 1,000, and that's the way it panned out for the rest of the race.
On a lead, he's down in the straight. A post-race veterinary examination failed to reveal any abnormalities, so stewards will follow up with the Stokes stable regarding a leadie who was obviously not at her best yesterday. We get to the feature at Caulfield yesterday, the listed Galilee Series final over 2,400 metres, race 6.
Lacuro at the 400 metres gets going. Led 2 lengths. Olivia's Game Furioso through Irish Eyes gets a split. Ruba to the outside from Mystery Bad Guy. Lacuro at the 250 went for the Doctor. 2.5 lengths in front of Ruba and through Irish Eyes in Olivia's Game. Lacuro in front with 100 metres to go. Led 2 lengths through Irish Eyes and Ruba. Lacuro clear from through Irish Eyes and Lacuro won at 3/4 through Irish Eyes second, Ruba third, Secret Shima fourth.
Jai McNeil and Mark Zara again, the first two across the line here. Brendan, thoughts on the Galilee Series final?
Yeah, really good win from Lacuro. Up on the speed, was just going a little bit freely early, but then had a nice lead, but had them sort of chasing along a fair way from home, and he was able to put a nice break in them on the turn, and it was a brave effort up there on the speed. Through Irish Eyes was good back in the field, had to cut through nearer the inside, was given a good ride by Zara to be able to make sure that he wasn't giving too much away by swinging deep on the turn. He was conserving energy by going through the pack and has run really well. It's going to be a nice match race if they do meet at Flemington next time in the St Ledger. Ruba was good, had to make that long winding run. Didn't mind the run of Secret Shima in third from the Brisbane stable. That yard's going pretty well at the moment, but it's just a couple of lengths off these, can drop back to easier, and then the rest of them were pretty tight at the back end of this. But he's a horse with plenty of promise, Lacuro, and the runner up through Irish Eyes. Looking forward to seeing him getting to Flemington. It's going to be a pretty nice race next time these two meet up.
Thoughts here, Dean?
Firstly, apologies to the Connections for totally butchering their horse's name yesterday morning. Yes, Lacuro was very good in winning, because I thought he raced a little bit ragged yesterday, and what I say about that is that he was a bit too keen. Was that because he'd gone into a leading role and it was a bit foreign to him, or he's getting to the back end of his preparation? Only probably time will tell there. It was interesting that through Irish Eyes there was an announcement made to be ridden more positively and closer to the speed. There was a positivity for about the first 150 metres. He couldn't get there, and ultimately then there became a bit of a distance between him and the winner. He ran very well, and he'll be better at Flemington. I'm certainly not giving up on him. And Ruba ran really well. I mean, guessing a little bit that he looked genuinely unlucky last start, but would he run a trip? And he did yesterday. They didn't go hard in this race, but he battled on well.
Speaking to Cindy Alderson earlier this morning, Dean, and I know you've effectively grown up with Cindy, but she's doing a terrific job. Her team just seem to be going to the races and running to their best whenever she throws a saddle on a horse.
Yes, and this horse is certainly a great advertisement for that, because stayers, it's they build their performances usually. This horse has just got an amazing strike rate. He wins. So from his early days, his first start at 1,600, he's only been beaten once, and he's got a very good profile, and the scalp of the Australian Derby winner at Bendigo. So he's got a very good record going forward.
And from your perspective, if you line them up, let's say they do clash in a St Ledger at Flemington, Lacuro and through Irish Eyes, you got an idea which way you might lean there?
I'm a big fan of Through Irish Eyes, but he's 1 from 5, so he's the other horse is a winner. But I think Flemington will really suit Through Irish Eyes, and I just think he's still building. He's learning as he goes. The blinkers sharpen him up at Sale. I thought he was good yesterday, because just at the turn he just had to go for a very neat run and didn't lose a lot of momentum, but he certainly wasn't gaining momentum. So, no, I like the way he's going.
Stayed at the 2,400 metres for a race for the older horses. Mohican Heights was coming off a win in slightly easier grade at Mornington last night.
Sovereign the Grey with a searching run goes to the front at the 400 metres from Norway. Blenheim Palace on the inside, then Lord Belvedere de Beer, and behind them Rebel Racer. Skelm is picking up from a long way back in South Pacific. Silent Sovereign at the 250, led a length and a half. Mohican Heights has darted through off the heels of Silent Sovereign. Then Skelm, it's on the outside. Silent Sovereign Sovereign just in front of Mohican Heights. Silent Sovereign, Mohican Heights. Mohican Heights takes the lead, and Mohican Heights beats Silent Sovereign. Skelm third, Yonkers fourth, then South Pacific.
Dean Holland copping a suspension for his ride aboard Silent Sovereign here. Dino, what was your take on this race?
Yeah, they ended up out very wide as Silent Sovereign took them out there, Warren, and Mohican Heights. Well, when he had his first start in Australia, Chris Waller was quick to point out on one of our shows that he's a horse to follow, and he took a couple of runs, and then Mornington was good, and yesterday was better. He was held up for a lot of the race, and whether it helped him a little bit at times, but he still had a lot to do, and it was a very good win. It was a very fast run race given the conditions, so I think he can trust the form, and he looks a really good stayer. That's the first time we've seen him in a really truly run race in Australia, and he came through with flying colours.
What was your take on this race, Brendan?
It's a messy race to watch, wasn't it, coming towards the 600 metres. Leaders coming back, horses held up, horses sweeping around the outside. It's hard to know where to look at different stages, but Mohican Heights to stay composed when he was held up, and then just to continue every time the gaps appeared, he went through and went through his gears. It's a really nice win there yesterday, although the speed was there to help him, but you've still got to be able to go through those gaps and then build every time you get stopped, and I thought his win there yesterday was fantastic. Silent Sovereign's good. We know this time last year she was in Adelaide. She was competitive in the filly staying races, and she's a real stayer, and that's what saw her towards the top end there yesterday. Skelm would have liked it a bit dry, but with the 52 probably helped him get right up there and be really competitive. Yonkers was one of those horses that might have been just caught marking time coming towards the turn a little bit when the runs were sweeping around the outside, but he's battled on well, and an improved performance from South Pacific. He only had 52 kilos, but at least he was working towards the line there yesterday to suggest that he might be on track in a run or two. But he's going to be a nice horse to follow, Mohican Heights. Waller put the tag on him, but after that win yesterday, he's a pretty smart horse.
Race 8 was over 2,000 metres. Mark Zara, who is having a day out, was aboard Independent Road. Tom Davenig and Ben Hayes.
400 to go. It's Vegas Night with Independent Road. Grand Promenade makes a line of 3. Wycliffe a length and a half off those queuing up from Takumi in the pink jacket. And then Concalicon at the 250. It's Independent Road. Grand Promenade together. Vegas Night drops away. Then Wycliffe. It's Grand Promenade at Independent Road below the 200. Wycliffe a length off them. Grand Promenade at Independent Road. Toe to toe. Grand Promenade at Independent Road, who won't give in. Stride for stride. They hit it. Photo. Grand Promenade or Independent Road, it's a photo. Wycliffe third, then Miyake or Vegas Night.
Narrow margin. Brendan, your thoughts on this race?
Well, it looked to be either coming towards the turn with the tempo that Vegas Night had set, that Wycliffe and Grand Promenade were going to be the two stayers that had probably fight it out, but Independent Road was up there right on the back of Vegas Night, well, right on the back, leading the charge towards Vegas Night anyway, and you would have thought at the back end of 2,000 metres maybe the strongest stayers of Grand Promenade and Wycliffe would be to the fore, but he was really brave yesterday, Independent Road. Grand Promenade conceding a little bit of weight, but you thought he might have the better staying ability. He was in front before the line and after the line, but where it counted he missed. He was good. It looked a race set up for Wycliffe coming to the turn. The speed was there. He was the master of his own destiny pretty much. All he had to do was find a line, and he was just okay in doing so. Miyake, a really good run again, was good at Mornington, held up for a long time coming around the turn there yesterday on the back of Wycliffe. If there was clearer air, you would suspect he wouldn't have been too far off in the finish, and maybe to a bigger track a little bit further. Miyake's going to be winning again soon, and Vegas Night, after setting that speed, hasn't done a bad job. Was only beaten 4.5 lengths or so in the end, but all on us to Independent Road. Wycliffe's going to be interesting to see. I thought that was his chance there yesterday mid-race.
Dino, your thoughts here?
Yeah, well, I thought he'd probably be a little doubt. Independent Road at a strong 2,000, and that's what it was. It was a strongly run 2,000. Figures out of the race were pretty good, and he was, tough to the line. Grand Promenade just missed out and will be fitter for that run. He's trending well. Wycliffe, he just wanted to lay in at about the 200 and took his momentum away. I thought the last 50 he actually got going again. Still a little bit jury out. He ran well and he's close to a win. And as Brendan said with Miyake, he got held up. and he actually surged quite well in the last 50. He probably peaked on his run, so he'll be fitter. But that group certainly were the best four, and Vegas Night was okay. But I think that Grand Promenade is ready to win, and 2,400 metres next time. I think I'd want to be with him.
You referenced that they hadn't been using a lot of the inside of the track for the majority of the day. Craig Newitt with a proactive ride in the last aboard Inverloch.
They come up to the turn. Inverloch has them stretching at the 350. Brought towards the middle of the track in the Club Silks is 2.5, 3 lengths. Tabby Run, High Stranger. They were followed by Platoon, who whacks away from Excelman. And then came Brimham Rocks. It's Inverloch. 200 metres to go. Newitt looks at the big screen. He's still clear from High Stranger. All Too Hoying and Brimham Rocks. Inverloch, has he stolen it? Getting a bit tired. He'll do it. Inverloch's won the last by a length and a quarter. He snatched it. Second, another dollar all High Stranger, and not beaten far from those. All
quite often you see a very proactive and a bit of a brave ride from Craig Newitt. You know, he's not afraid to live or die by his decisions.
No, he's not. But this was a really, really intelligent, well thought out, structured ride, because if you looked at the field, you saw a lot of horses that don't win round a turn, and he went to the front. He used the track to his advantage, and he got old horses that aren't regular winners off the bit. And I thought it was just a really clever ride, and certainly won the race for Inverloch. Brimham Rocks was terrific first up, making ground closer to the inside. High Stranger, he's not in that older group. He's only a 4-year-old, but he ran very honestly. A few of these are probably get towards the back end of their career, probably none more so than Plain Ciel. He was really playing yesterday, and I thought Guizzo ran okay, but that's about where he's at. And Platoon, if you're on him, Brendan, about the halfway, you knew you were in trouble.
Yep, he was in the wrong spot, back on the fence, and it just wasn't going to happen from there. There was clear air for him to improve. He tried to do that, but he was just in the part of the track where it wasn't happening there yesterday at Caulfield, and he dropped out accordingly. Dean summed it up the best, the way Newitt got the horses that don't win out of turn chasing. Brimham Rocks, a good return back to the inside, so maybe a little bit of extra bonus there for him. He went through on that inside section. All Too Hoying, look, gone on the turn, but he found a second wind halfway down the straight and really rallied again late. High Stranger solid. Guizzo just didn't have a lot of room in the early part of the straight. Might be a little excuse there for him. He's ticking along okay. And then those that follow Excelman, I know he went around at a big price yesterday, but they keep on coming for him, and he keeps on finding ways to get beat. But Inverloch, he was really flying this time last year, winning the Mornington Cup Prelude and the Easter Cup and the like. And first up yesterday, he might be in for a nice preparation.
Terrific days racing, competitive days racing under cool conditions at Caulfield. Brendan, I know you're a fan of your jumps racing. Rachel Blackmore had dominated the Cheltenham Festival in recent weeks. She was aboard Millennium Times in the Grand National at Aintree last night.
150 yards to go in the National. Minella Times for J.P. McManus, Henry de Bromhead, and more significantly, Rachel Blackmore. History in the National. Minella Times wins from Balco de Flo. Any second now is third, Borough St. Four, then Falklar, Black Line, Discorama.
A real test of stamina is the Grand National, Brendan, as is the week at Cheltenham, and Rachel right to the fore.
Yeah, 6 winners at Cheltenham. She had 6 falls as well to go with their 6 winners there at Cheltenham a couple of weeks ago, but she ran second in the Gold Cup. She won some of the bigger races, the Champion Hurdle, the Ballymore, and the Ryanair, along with the Triumph Hurdle as well. And there yesterday she was always sort of in that first third of the field, just picking her way through. Minella Times jumped really well, and then coming towards coming back onto the course proper, the likes of Black Line that have run well in Nationals before were starting to loom. But Henry de Bromhead's a really good trainer of horses, particularly over the cross-country sort of fences, not the standard. He's a great trainer of horses over the normal fences as well, but he always seems to really get them to fly when they're jumping something else. The cross-country courses, he dominates that. Balco de Flo, the runner-up, was really good. Black Lion loomed, and Jet gave a good side. He ran 8th in the end, but he was trying to do a little bit of a crisp impersonation there at different stages of the race. I think when they jumped the chair with a lap to go, he was about 12 lengths in front, and it was was only when they were coming back onto the course proper that they got to him. But a race that's got a lot of history behind it, the world's most famous horse race, you could say, and it's been a long time coming for a female jockey to win it. But you could put Jamie Carr and Rachel Blackmore up in lights. They're really dominating what was a male-dominated sport. And with these two riders, it's probably best that we throw the female tag away. They're just that good that they're winning races. And when you've got the likes of Ruby Walsh and AP McCoy praising Rachel Blackmore for the rides that she gave them, it was really super.
Dino, the feature in Western Australia yesterday was the WA Derby. Short price favourite Western Empire, Willie Pike riding for Grant Alana Williams. We've seen some good form come through this race in years gone by. What did you make of the win yesterday?
Well, I don't think he's a stayer, Western Empire. I think he's a pretty handy horse, but he got home, but he was right out of tickets with about 100 to go, and he got home. And that was the little doubt on the male form going into the Derby, that the fillies actually had looked like more the staying types, and they ran second, fourth, and fifth, the fillies, and sixth. But Western Empire was able to Pike just conserve the energy for the right time, and I mean he might come back and be a Kingston Town chance in the summer, but I don't know if we'll see him over the longer trips that often.
Feature race in Adelaide yesterday, the Port Adelaide Guineas, and he's still a big raw product, Royal Mile, Dean, but he's putting a bit of a picket fence together and building a good record. He looks a bit of a big raw talent who's still got a bit to learn.
Yeah, Lee Creek's been having a great run with his horses in the southeast, and then bringing him up to, say, Murray Bridge, but this is the horse that might put him on the map. His horses always look great. They run very well to their form, and he was a very good winner, but couldn't help but like the run of Let's Karaka Deal in the explosive Jack colours. He hit the line very sweetly at 1,800 metres second up. We know he ran pretty well in the Derby in the spring, so I think he's ticking over well for the Derby. Might have to meet his stablemate there while he's on his tour of Australia.
Day one of the championships at Randwick yesterday, the Galilee Series final, the feature at Caulfield. Time to get the boys to sum up their runs of the day and horses to follow.
Let's wrap up the Correct Weight Racing review with the run of the day and the horses to follow.
Dino, we'll start with you.
Gee, there's a lot to choose from for run of the day. I'm going to go with Nature Strip. I just thought on a day where he had to perform, he did, and I'll make him the run of the day. And as I've said, I'm a real fan of Through Irish Eyes, so I'm going to keep following him through to the St Ledger and maybe beyond.
Casting your eye around Victoria today, Dino, is there anything we should be looking at either Hamilton or Ballarat?
Yeah, it could be testing conditions. I'm going to go to Ballarat in the first race. It's a really good staying race and a really good clash between Rising Archie and Manolo, but I'm a fan of Manolo, so I'll go with her race 1, number 4, Manolo.
Gareth Hall chomping at the bit to take over Sunday Central at Oaklands Junction. We'll get to him shortly. Dino, thanks for your contribution right throughout the morning, and look forward to hearing more right throughout the week.
My pleasure. Thanks, Warren.
Brendan, how do you summarise yesterday?
With Nature Strip as well as the run of the day. Horse to follow for me is Miyake. Looking forward to Miyake winning again, and don't let Valet go around without anything on in the first at Hamilton. He meets a pretty weak field there in his jumping debut.
Great work, Brendan. Look forward to hearing you either calling or other contributions right throughout the week, and back on deck next Sunday for the second day of the championships, the feature meeting, and a big owner breeders day at Caulfield.
Yep, looking forward to it.
Brendan Delaney there. I'm going to make Animo a run of the day. I thought he was devastating winning the sires, and for the right race I'm going to make Superior my horse to follow for Team Hawks. I think on a bigger track he might be winning a suitable race sometime soon. Animo, my run of the day. Superior, my horse to follow. That takes us out for Correct Weight this morning. Stay tuned for Gareth Hall with a special edition of Sunday Central.